Well, in the last video, I told you that Richard and Louise needed more advice. They needed eyes on. They needed someone to see their home, their relationship, and their lifestyle. There are some situations in senior care where advice alone is not going to do much. This was one of them. Richard was not openly asking for help. Alan wanted someone to fix things, but he was far away and he was not exactly eager to get deeply involved. Louise, as we know, could not speak for herself. And what I had already uncovered in one office visit told me the home situation needed ongoing eyes on. Well, welcome back to the Richard and Louise Family Story. It's a 4-part caregiving series where I take you over my shoulder and show you what really happens inside a family when aging starts changing everything. This is part 3 of 4. So if you missed the earlier videos, go back and start there first. Hi, I'm Suzanne Fasella, a retired physician assistant and healthcare advocate who teaches family caregivers how to go from emotional chaos to strong leadership in senior care with more confidence and less exhaustion and with the right resources. I don't fix problems. I teach caregivers how to fix their own problems. So here's how I could help Richard and Louise with eyes on, as I say. When I first started my practice, I had called 5 home health care agencies to ask whether one of their nurses would be willing to coordinate care with me if they saw a problem in a patient's home. Well, 4 of them said no, but 1 said yes. And that one yes made all the difference in this story. Her name was Brenda. I arranged for Nurse Brenda to begin seeing Louise. Richard, of course, did not think that he was the one who needed help. We're not surprised. But I knew Louise needed another set of trained eyes in that home. And frankly, I knew that I did too. Brenda saw them once a week. After each visit, she texted me when she was done, and I called her so I could learn more about what she was seeing. Over time, she also helped Richard begin trusting his pharmacist. That was huge, that Richard was actually beginning to open up. I already had Richard's pharmacist on speed dial. I also had his cardiology nurse on speed dial. Brenda checked with them, the pharmacist, weekly to see whether medications had been added or changed. I checked in with the cardiology nurse regularly to see whether anything had shifted there for Richard. And this was not overkill. This is structure, and this case required this kind of structure because this was never about one wrong pill. It was about an entire system that could not be trusted unless people were talking to each other. And when I first saw Richard and Louise, nobody was talking. But Brenda did not walk in and magically fix Richard. She did not suddenly make Alan easy. She did not make Louise better. What she did was more important. She was fantastic, I do have to tell you. She helped create steadiness. She gave me information I could never get from one office visit. She reinforced safer routines at home. She helped Richard hear things from more than one voice. She even helped communicate with Alan when my patience was running thin. Thank goodness for Brenda. And that matters more than people realize. When one stubborn caregiver hears the same message, or even the stubborn senior hears the same message from a doctor, a nurse, a pharmacist, he or she is beginning to trust. It starts landing differently. Not always quickly, not perfectly, but it lands differently. Alan loved his parents. I believe that. He was worried enough to call me from New York. That said everything. He knew something was off. But he was also a lot like his father in one important way. He did not love being told what to do either, just like Richard. So even though he wanted to help, there was still a part of him staying on the sidelines with that quiet, frustrated attitude so many adult children fall into. What was that attitude? Just fix it. Just get dad to listen. Just get mom safer. Just make this easier. But caregiving rarely works that way. You cannot force trust. You cannot force insight. And you cannot force cooperation. By this point, Richard was still not easy to work with. He was still doing it his way and confident that he was right. Alan was still not highly involved. Louise was still deeply vulnerable. And yet something important had changed. We were no longer relying on hope. That's important. Brenda was in the home every week. She was recruiting. The pharmacist was part of that rhythm. The doctors were more in touch with what was going on. I was writing in the medical chart, so they could know what was going on because I knew the landscape. And slowly, Richard had begun to trust the team more than he trusted his own confusion. That was a huge shift. Families often think success looks like everyone's finally agreeing. Sometimes success looks like having enough structure in place that people are safer even when agreement is incomplete. You don't have to have that. So then the thing I always knew would happen eventually. And it finally happened because this was on the back of my mind the whole time. Richard fell. He was hospitalized. And suddenly everything that we had spent months building was tested. But this time, the family was not starting from zero because by then, Brenda was already in place and she had gotten home care in to help Louise. The pharmacist was already part of the rhythm because we know hospitals always change medications. The doctors were more aligned because their medical charts were filled with my notes. And even a patient advocate could help report back to Alan and help coordinate what came next for Richard in the hospital. All these people were already in place. Eventually, though, with a lot of coordination and a lot of time, Brenda and the patient advocate got Richard and Louise moved into the same senior care facility. Louise went into memory care. Richard went into assisted living. And they could see each other every day because they were in that same senior care facility. So this was not a quick fix. This is what we call structure. Nobody agreed with anybody necessarily, but this we built a structure in. So in the next video, I want to tell you what Richard, Louise, Alan, and even Brenda taught me about caregiving that most families do not see until much later. Take care. We'll talk soon. And if you enjoyed this, give it a thumbs up and share it. We'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.